All right, good afternoon, everybody, or morning, depending on where you are. My name is Brian Mink. I am the General Counsel and Vice President of Risk Management at InTown Suites and Uptown Suites, which is a national extended stay hotel chain. I'm also an adjunct professor of legal analytics and innovation at the University of Georgia School of Law. Today, I'm going to be talking about how you measure success leveraging KPI dashboards to make data-driven decisions. So as I mentioned, I'm the General Counsel at InTown Suites. I'm the Chief Legal Officer responsible for all legal matters at our hotel chain, 196 properties, 22 states, 1,500 employees. By the way, I see somebody says there's an echo. If anybody else is having that issue, just chime in and I'll see if it's an issue on my end. So my experience is a little bit different than probably a lot of your other speakers today, in that I'm not a data scientist. I'm actually an attorney. And so my experience is in leveraging data and analytics at large law firms and in-house law departments of large companies. And so my focus is really on how data drives all business decisions. And so I think depending on what career path you're looking at, you may not be looking at, at a career as a data scientist or in data specifically, but data really touches everything now. It touches all industries and all aspects of businesses. And so it's important for you to have a literacy with data and to understand how you can leverage data in lots of different ways to drive progress in organizations that you're a part of. So quick roadmap of what we're going to talk about today. First, I'll talk about how you measure success and what KPIs are. Then translating that data into decision making, and then I'll go through some do's and don'ts of building a KPI dashboard. Okay, so first thing, what are KPIs? How do we measure success? And that really is all KPIs are. It's a measurement for success. So it's metrics that you as an organization or as an individual would select, and then you use those metrics to evaluate whether you're succeeding in your goals. And that allows you to analyze trends over time, because you can take snapshots at different points in time of what those metrics are. And then it also allows you to forecast impacts. As you start to analyze trends, you'll be able to project out into the future and forecast what's going to happen, not just what has happened in the past. Okay, some examples of KPIs. I saw this LinkedIn post. It's a great post about an Uber driver who was using this clipboard here on the right to track her rides. And so she was keeping some very simple metrics, tracking how long it took her to pick up a ride, the amount of the bonus that she received from Uber for a particular ride, and the fare that she was receiving by hour. And that allowed her to measure the results that she was getting and to change her strategy as a driver to optimize her results and make more money. So that's a great example of how you can use KPIs in really anything. And it doesn't have to be even computer driven. It doesn't have to be something complicated or super complex analytics. It really can be as simple as this clipboard and tracking just a few basic metrics and using that to evaluate your success and change your strategy in light of that data. Some examples: if you're a TikTok influencer, you can see how many views you're getting, how many interactions you're getting. You can measure your playing time. And TikTok actually, if you're a business user, if you get that license, as sort of most influencers have, you have a variety of metrics that they make available to you in order to evaluate your performance. And you can tweak things that you're doing and say, oh, this video got a really good response, so let me try something. Try the same thing with other videos that I'm doing to see if I get the same response and able to improve my metrics. Or if you want to start your own Etsy online shop, if you're designing your own jewelry and selling it on Etsy, you can track your page views. You can track your conversion rate, meaning how many people that viewed your page are you actually converting into customers, and you can track your average revenue per customer. So these metrics will help you figure out where my customers coming from, what kind of traffic am I getting to my page? If people come to my page, are they actually buying the product, or are they just looking? And you can tweak different things that you're doing on the site and then see how your metrics respond. And if you're having success in tweaking different aspects of your page on Etsy, then you might continue to do those things. So KPIs are what give you insight into that. They are how you measure success. And so once you have these metrics in place and you start monitoring them, then that can change your strategy and help you succeed more often. Okay, and it works the same across any business, any organization that you're a part of. You can figure out what these KPIs are, what are the things we need to be tracking, and then develop a dashboard to give transparency, to give some insight into what you're actually seeing, what the data is telling you, and then translate that into decision making. So when I talk about building a dashboard, there's many platforms to choose from. You don't have to have super advanced software. You don't have to have really expensive software that only companies can get. There are lots of platforms that you can use to build a very simple but also very useful dashboard. So Microsoft Excel, most of you probably have it on your computers, provides great dashboard functionality. Really, for the vast majority of people, Microsoft Excel does the job more than enough in order to build a very high quality, very informative dashboard. Low code platforms, there are a variety. If you Google low code development platforms, there are a variety of platforms that will allow you to build a database, build out forms to collect data in that database, and then also to leverage that data to produce really high quality dashboards. So those are a great option, and they are very affordable for individual licenses and for student licenses. And then data visualization software, you may have heard of platforms like Tableau or Click or Tibco Spotfire is another. And so these are all more complex data visualization software. And these become more important if you're in a large company and you need to roll out a really flashy dashboard to a variety of users and have different kind of permissions. So some people can only view the dashboard, some people can edit the dashboard, or if you're pulling data from a variety of large, complex databases, then sometimes you may want to use a platform like that. It's a great skill to have. Companies are increasingly hiring developers who know how to use Tableau to build complex, very high quality dashboards. But again, it's not necessary. You can jump right in with Microsoft Excel and get your feet wet and build a great looking, high functioning dashboard. So core components of a KPI dashboard, and here are some examples that I found here on the left. But really what you need, the most important thing is meaningful KPIs. It's really taking a step back and thinking, how do we evaluate success in whatever I'm doing? Could be, how long does it take you to do your homework? It could be, how successful is your TikTok page? How successful is your Etsy page? How can I make more money driving Uber or doing whatever part-time job that I'm working? So it could be anything, whatever you're trying to measure success on. You just want to take a step back and say, what are my meaningful KPIs? How can I evaluate success using data in this particular activity? And then once you have that data, then it's just putting together a combination of tables and charts and trends. So tracking trends over time, putting sort of a temporal or time-based piece to it. And then one really cool thing about dashboards that are different than, say, just a report or a chart that you might do at a particular point in time is a KPI dashboard should be dynamic, meaning as the data changes, the dashboard changes. So you update it at regular intervals, you keep it current. And as part of that updating process, you can start to monitor trends over time. And also many dashboards have interactive components, so the user can actually drill down on different aspects and see, if I change this, or if I want to see, focus on this particular aspect of the data. Maybe you have some interactive components where you have a button, or you have like in Excel, a slicer where you're able to quickly filter out for different results and see the impact on the data and drill down on different parts of your data. So those are all sort of the core components of dashboards. One backward, here we go. So one question that folks often have when they're building KPI dashboards is, should you start with the data or should you start with the decision? Should you figure out what you're trying to track data on, or should you start with the data you have and then kind of back into, well, what aspects of this data are useful for our decisions? And this is what I typically do. I start with the data, I go to the decision, and then I come back to the data. So what I mean by that is start with, figuring out what data you have, right? If you don't have the data, often it can be very hard to get that data. So take a look at what data you have. If you're on a platform like TikTok that has built-in metrics, start there. That's the data that you have. So start there before you try to go out and gather your own data. Start with the data you have. Then take taking a look at that, you need to look at, okay, here's the data that I have. Now, how do I make data-driven decisions based on that data? What decisions need to be data-driven? And then take a look at what data do I need, knowing, okay, here are the decisions I need to make. Now, what data do I need? All right, and then you also have to think about how often can we refresh or should we refresh the data? So what is, how often is it feasible for you to refresh the data, for you to get a sort of refreshed dashboard? And then how often, should you? Is this something you need every day? Is it something you need every week? Is it something you need every quarter? Okay, some do's and don'ts. Do keep it simple. It's not necessary to overcomplicate this. Start with just a few KPIs to measure success. Focus on what's going to move the needle, and then solicit feedback from anybody who's going to be using this dashboard. Yeah, get their opinions, see what's useful, see, is this actually, are these actually data points that we need in order to drive decision making, or is this not going to be useful information? Make sure you don't forget your audience. So consider the design, the complexity, and the accessibility of the dashboard. What platform are you building in? Is it self-explanatory, or are people going to be confused by it? Is the data laid out in a way that allows people to make decisions, or is this going to be overly complicated and burdensome? Very important piece, do pair dashboards with action. So really developing initiatives, training, and continuous improvement around what the results are telling you. So don't just say, okay, I'm going to play with the data and we're going to create this dashboard, but it's also, what do you do after you have the dashboard? After you are looking at those KPIs, then how do you turn that into results? How do you say, here are the areas we can improve on, here are the over time, here are the metrics that are improving, here are the metrics that are not improving in response to our actions, and then how do we as an organization, or how do you as an individual change your behavior, change the things that you're doing to get better results? And you can measure that those results are getting better in response to what you're doing. And then last thing is, don't be afraid of accountability. So many times if you're in an organization or even individually, you might start looking at the results of your KPI dashboard and you might be discouraged. You might think that something that you thought was performing really well isn't performing as well as you thought it was. If you're running an Etsy shop and you discover that my results actually aren't as good as I thought they were, or they seem to be declining, right? That's sometimes the data can be discouraging. And so the important thing is to not be deterred by that, and to not stop looking at the results or stop holding yourself accountable simply because you don't like where you are at that present moment. That's the whole purpose of this. The whole purpose of this is to improve, to get better, and to take action in response to the data that you're seeing, in response to the insights the data is giving you. Now you're taking action to improve your performance. And just get started today. I think this is the biggest thing is you don't have to have everything perfect. Just start playing around, figure out whatever it is you're doing in your personal life or professionally or academically. What do you want to measure results for? And start tracking some metrics and put it in a dashboard and see how it goes. And you can improve over time. It's the most important thing is just to get started and start practicing. With that, I'll open it up for any questions if folks have them. I see one question. Somebody's asking what platform I used to create this presentation. This is a great website called Canva that has a lot of pre-made templates, and you can very quickly sort of drag and drop elements. And highly recommend Canva. Not paid to say that, and it's pretty affordable. And they may have student licenses as well, so it's a good alternative to PowerPoint or other similar products. Any other questions? Okay, well, great. I enjoyed it. Thank you all, and have a good afternoon.